Welcome back, everyone. This is my new Spider-Man No Way Home video. Marvel just dropped another new big preview in Empire magazine featuring a whole bunch of the Sinister Six characters, basically confirming the roster. There's a couple new scenes, so we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. We're also doing a giveaway for movie tickets. All you have to do to enter is just be a subscriber and post all your Sinister Six theories on the video. But recently you probably saw all over your feeds all these images from this Empire preview that just dropped. I literally just did a Spider-Man No Way Home video about another preview they did with Dr. Octopus scenes. Most of the additional scenes that they also released this morning feature Dr. Octopus heavily because they're kind of trying to hold back as much as possible on everyone else, and they just showed huge scenes of Alfred Molina's Dr. Octopus in the last trailer. So there's not really any point in them trying to hide him anymore, which is why you're seeing so much of him in all these brand new previews. But in the new preview, they did confirm the rest of the official Multiverse Sinister Six roster, and it wound up confirming my theory from my first big Spider-Man No Way Home trailer video. I'll link that below in the description. That last trailer was pretty obvious with which members were on the team. There were one or two members that people weren't quite sure about, but this new preview just clarifies that a little bit more. Here you can see they state the team is actually the Sinister Five, technically, is Alfred Molina's Dr. Octopus, Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin, and Thomas Hayden Church's Sandman, all from the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, so that's 3. Then Jamie Foxx's Electro and Rhys Ifans' Lizard from the Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man movies. So when I say there was one or two characters from the first trailer that people weren't totally sure about, there was the scene of somebody swiping Tom Holland's Spider-Man or trying to swipe him from the darkness in Doctor Strange's basement of the Sanctum there. My big theory is that it was probably Lizard, but some people thought that it could have been someone else. This preview basically just confirms that it was Lizard. And because it's called the Sinister Six, not the Sinister Five, there are reports of other Sinister Six characters being referenced during the movie, but not featured the same way these particular 5 members are, including Michael Keaton's Vulture and maybe a name drop of the Paul Giamatti Rhino. But I don't think that Rhino is going to be anywhere in the movie because he was such a laughingstock during Amazing Spider-Man 2. I don't see how anyone brings him back unless it's as a huge joke. And for the most part, in all the footage that we've seen, everything that everyone said, the director, Tom Holland, all the other actors, most of these multiverse Sinister Six villains, they're playing in the same tone as, say, like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, the way they played horror and comedy in the same breath. Like, all the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies had a very specific sense of humor with the way they played all the villain scenes.
You're getting on my nerves.
I have a knack for that.
Not anymore.
There were jokes, but they always did a good job of balancing the jokes in the horror elements so that you still took the villains seriously, like they did feel like a real threat to Spider-Man during the movie. The scene that everybody points to when they talk about this, and it's a perfect example, is of Dr. Octopus on the operating table with his arms just completely destroying everybody. It's like, give me a Spider-Man movie, but make it Evil Dead or Army of Darkness, and that's just Sam Raimi's sense of humor. If you've never seen any of Sam Raimi's classic horror movies like Evil Dead, Army of Darkness, be sure to check them out because they are classics. And they'll give you a good idea for the way they'll play the horror and comedy elements of Doctor Strange 2, Multiverse of Madness, because if you weren't aware, Sam Raimi is currently directing Doctor Strange 2. Kevin Feige said it's like bringing the MCU full circle because he was originally a producer on the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies when they were making those, so Kevin Feige has been working with Sam Raimi on Marvel stuff for the past 20 years, so it was kind of like bringing him home. In some of the new scenes that they released as part of this preview, they also dropped some teasers. So in this brand new scene here of Dr. Octopus going after Spider-Man, it says Spider-Man No Way Home isn't just a sequel, it's a massive meta multiverse outing in which Peter Parker finds himself fighting iconic villains from past lives. Notice the confirmation, villains from past lives, as in multiple villains, multiple Sinister Six villains. In past lives isn't meant to be a reference to reincarnation or anything weird like that, or the notion that Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man existed inside the main MCU timeline. They're not trying to make any crazy references to He Who Remains King and Loki, the way he manipulated the timeline, trying to say that they existed in some previous version of the sacred timeline. They're using the term past lives as more of a shorthand reference to those original Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies and the Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man movies. Like past lives as in past versions of Spider-Man in the real world sense. Because in the movie, they're treating each different Spider-Man franchise of movies as its own separate universe. Obviously that includes the Venom movies too, but they're mostly talking about the other Spider-Man franchises here. Like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are from completely different universes, separate timelines, per the Loki rules of the multiverse, which are now like the canon rules for how the MCU Marvel multiverse works. Each of the different Spider-Man Sinister Six villains from the different universes that come to the MCU because of Doctor Strange's spell are also coming from points in their timelines right after the endings of all their previous movies. So Alfred Molina kind of confirmed this. For him, the last thing he experienced will be sinking down to the bottom of the East River with his fusion reactor. And for Jamie Foxx's Electro, the last thing he would have remembered was fighting Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man in Amazing Spider-Man 2 and being dissipated so much that they believe that he was dead. Side note too, science lesson, you can't kill something that's pure energy. It only gets converted to other kinds of energy. So even though Doctor Strange's spell is responsible for bringing all these villains back with a twist, Electro wouldn't really have been permadead in the Amazing Spider-Man universe. They also released a preview of a new scene here of Spider-Man in the newer advanced suit without his mask on inside the Sanctum. The background structures and architecture look like the basement room that he and Doctor Strange performed the spell in. And this is also supposedly where Doctor Strange traps the Multiverse Sinister Six villains before Peter accidentally releases them. Like in this trailer scene, you literally see the now confirmed Lizard from Amazing Spider-Man swipe at him from inside this makeshift magical prison. And obviously, this is a very familiar scene of Dr. Octopus crushing Tom Holland's Spider-Man with his arms. He's wearing his Iron Spider suit, so if you couldn't tell, they're still on the George Washington Bridge, so this is all part of that same bridge fight scene from the trailers. And I say familiar because it looks exactly like scenes of him crushing Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man head during many different Spider-Man 2 scenes. Just gonna pop that head right off like he's an action figure. And if it wasn't clear from the last trailer scenes, Dr. Octopus's arms, his coat, his whole outfit are meant to be exactly the same as they were during Spider-Man 2. The only reason why they seem a little bit different is because when they brought Alfred Molina back, because it's 20 years later, they used a lot of special effects to de-age him. So because the technology that they're using to film him, to present him on screen, the texture of his skin, his hair, his coat just look a little bit different, but it's meant to be the exact same as it was during Spider-Man 2. Like I said, it will be as if no time has passed for him at all since the end of Spider-Man 2. And it's the same for all the other Sinister Six villains as well. I think the way they're explaining Electro's lightning being yellow now, like if no time has passed for him, why is his lightning now a different color? I think the idea is that Kevin Feige wanted to be more comic book accurate with him, thus the yellow lightning. But the way they'll justify that is they'll just have him absorb some other kind of energy that's different color. And that's why when he's fighting Spider-Man later, his energy gives off a different color. For those of you also asking about Green Goblin, because it's a little bit harder to explain him coming back because he died in the same timeline of Dr. Octopus, and if he's grabbing Dr. Octopus from this point in time, shouldn't Green Goblin be dead? They're using Doctor Strange's spell in a really broad kind of way, so if you never read the Spider-Man One More Day storyline, Mephisto basically does what Doctor Strange is doing now, like he causes all these changes to the timeline by basically swapping in, replacing bits of it with other timelines, other universes, mixing and matching aspects of other realities to change the main universe. And during Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange's spell is pulling in random bits from other universes of the Spider-Man franchises, but also doing it from random points in the timelines of those alternate universes. So that's how he can grab Dr. Octopus, Green Goblin, and Sandman all from different points in the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man universe timeline, because all those characters existed during different parts in the timeline. And when the spell is doing that, effectively what it does is it saves those characters from dying. Like the spell steals all those characters from different points in their timelines right before their deaths. So I think part of the idea with the No Way Home title is that it's also meant to be a reference to the concept that the Sinister Six characters believe that if they did go back to where they came from, they'd all die. So they can't go home, like they're meant to be stuck in the MCU for now. Also, spoiler warning for the Venom Let There Be Carnage post-credit scene if you haven't seen that movie yet, because that's kind of relevant to what's going on with Doctor Strange's spell and the multiverse and pulling all these villains from different universes. It's basically the same scenario with Venom coming into the MCU in the Venom Let There Be Carnage post-credit scene. Eventually, he will probably find a way to go home, and they'll do more Venom sequels without Tom Holland's Spider-Man. But they'll end the movie with a way to explain how they can continue to have multiverse crossovers with all these different characters and other potential characters from those other Spider-Man franchises in the future if they want. So everybody post all your reactions in the comments below, just all your Sinister Six theories. Let me know what you think they're going to do with the sixth member of the team. I'll leave the giveaway open for a couple days. I've got a couple other big Marvel videos that I'll be posting, so make sure you have alerts enabled for my channel so you don't miss anything. Everyone click here to learn about those other brand new scenes of Dr. Octopus and Spider-Man No Way Home. And click here for my Venom Let There Be Carnage post-credit scene video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.